So I'm very happy to present our webinar about British Columbia ecosystems and the opportunities for startups from the French Alps. My name is Veronique, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Investing Grenoble-Alpes team, which is a partner of this special program. This webinar will be mostly in English, as there are some of our speakers who are not French fluent. But we'll have a few presentations which will be in French as well. So this is the start actually of the onboarding for our part of the Faise program, which is about presenting opportunities existing in British Columbia for startups from France and especially from the French Alps. And so we will have first a brief presentation of this Faise program. And then we will have two presentations about British Columbia, one by our partners, Rupert and Laetitia MacDougall by Trade and Invest British Columbia, and also the presentation of the support system and what Business France can actually do for you by Julien Tougeron and Jonathan Lauerstumm as well as Fayssal and Majid from Business France. Then we will have a special presentation about the Faise program in British Columbia by our partner from Empowered Startups, Laura Blumes. And then we'll just keep the end of the webinar for questions and answers, and about also what's next for the Faise program. So if we can go to the next slide, I will just explain what it is. So the Faise program stands for soft landing, safe landing to and from the French Tech Alps. It's a collaborative ecosystem to ecosystem project, and that aims at supporting internationalization of startups, either from different countries to the French Alps or the other way around. So this program is coordinated with different local partners, French Tech in the Alps, which is the financial partner and supports the program. Then we have Investing Grenoble-Alpes, which is my team. We have also Tarmac, which is an incubator in the French Alps, and as well as also an incubator in Savoie Technolac. And then we have some special partners, of course, the French Tech. Then we have also in British Columbia Empowered Startups, as well as another partner in Taiwan, which is UBIC and the French Tech Taiwan. We also have some local partners here with Team France Export, part of Business France, and Le Village by CA, which is the Crédit Agricole Incubator and Support Program. So what it is about, basically, it's really a bottom-up program, which stems from the fact that we want to help startups to go international and give them all the information and all the tools that they will need when they want to actually land up in an ecosystem. We want to look at the business aspect of that program when the startups want to go international. We also want to have them look at the personal aspect, how because it's often is a leap of faith for a startup to go in a different country. And not only is it very difficult to actually build up its business, but it might also be a life choice as well. So it's very important that they get all the aspects looked after. And also the idea was really to look at other systems than the obvious one. Because when you have a French startup, basically they tend to want to go, they tend to choose as a destination, either the Silicon Valley when it comes to North America, or Shanghai when it comes to Asia. But there may be very different ecosystems that might be actually the better choices for these startups. So the idea was really to look at what we could call secondary ecosystems, at least ecosystems that are not as known in Asia, in North America, and in France and Europe as well. So they get all the information and they can actually choose wisely according to their business and according also to their personal choices. What do we do for this? Basically, we just call for interest. Then we have master classes on different aspects on legal, financial, budget, but also cultural and relocation aspects from the different ecosystems. We have events when we launch a program. We have also a selection process because some of these startups also will benefit from some special support. And then also afterwards, the idea is to come up at the end of the selection process with a boot camp in each of the geographic ecosystem, the geographic zones that have been chosen. So that means a whole week to actually discover all the partners that might meet there, meet also the local stakeholders, participate into B2B meetings as well. Of course, as you probably understand, the program was launched beginning of the year in 2020, and we had to reschedule a lot of things due to the pandemics. We had to go digital. We had to be very, very flexible. But all in all, we managed to come up with a program that will just hold on. And the good news also is that we've been supported by the French Tech in order to actually continue this program and to expand it. So that means we started with three destinations, the French Alps, Taiwan, and British Columbia. But next year as well, we're going to expand this program into different locations with North Carolina and Arizona in the US, as well as South Korea in Asia, and also European destination with Switzerland and Germany joining the program. So this means that you have also to check this program whenever you would be interested into all these destinations. So without further ado, I will just then pass the floor to the rest of our speakers. I'd just like also to point out that for those of you who have registered on the LinkedIn event, please make sure that you send in your email address in the private message so that we can actually send to you the presentations and also the link to our webinar, because we are recording it and it will just be also on our YouTube channel as well. And please ask your questions in the chat as well, and then we'll just make sure to answer all of them at the end of the session, or maybe privately, depending on what they are. So let me then introduce you to our partners from Trade and Invest British Columbia, so they can tell you how beautiful the region is and what all the opportunities that you will be able to have there. Because I have to say from the pictures, and I hope that soon enough every one of us will be able to actually go there in real life, as one may say. And it does look like a very dynamic place to go international for a startup. So Rupert, Laetitia, the floor is yours, and please, if you could share your presentation, or maybe Alexandrine, you can share it, depending what you want to do.
Thank you very much, Veronique. It's great to be with you. If Alexandrine can share the screen, great. Otherwise, I can bring up the slideshow. That just requires me multitasking, which is always a risk, but I can do it.
Yeah. Okay, Alexandrine, okay. If you could share it.
If not, no problem. Yeah. I have it here.
Okay.
And then I'll just turn off my mic.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
no problem.
perfect. That's really good of you. Thank you. And thank you to Veronique, everyone at Grenoble-Alpes and all of their partners for having us. It's a pleasure to be with you. I am one of those who has such poor French that it's better for you, unfortunately, to suffer my English than to wait for me to try and speak in French. Laetitia, thankfully, is bilingual, so you'll have 50-50 on this presentation. My aim really is just to give you a speed date introduction to British Columbia and what is there and the opportunities. Definitely happy to answer questions at the end where you wish to go into any more detail. So for those of you familiar with it, forgive me if some of it is known to you, but hopefully there'll be something new in there for everyone to cover and take away from here. But as I say, we're happy to sort of go on afterwards. Rather than go through all of the advantages, which if we could move to the second slide, we put on a slide there. Sorry, can we go to the second slide?
There. Does it work?
It's still stuck on the first one.
I can see the second one, Rupert.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's just me then. That's strange. There we go. Well, I'll trust that it's happening. There are some of the main advantages and reasons why we love BC, as I called it, but I thought rather than go through those, we'll cover some of the detail of those as I go. I lived in British Columbia for 4 years and fell in love with the place, which is one of the key reasons that I'm doing this job. And it wasn't just all the things that you can see in the pictures, which Veronique is completely correct, are as beautiful in the pictures as they in reality. It's as much about the attitudes. And the moment that it happened for me was very early on when my family and I were cycling up a hill on the North Shore. And we'd barely gone any distance before we realized that we weren't fit enough to be doing this and pulled over to the side for a rest, when someone came shooting down the hill in the other direction at great speed. And we waited for a few minutes, and the next thing we knew, he was coming back up the hill, cycling his bike, and came up to do so simply to say, Chick, that we were okay and that we hadn't had any problems. This is fairly typical of the sort of positive, can-do, supportive, open attitude that you find when you're there. And as I say, one of the reasons that we all fell in love with it. We would still be there were it not for family commitments in the UK that pulled us back. But anyway, I have the next best thing. So a little bit into BC itself, if we can move to the next slide. Thank you, I can see it now, which is great. So BC is very much a resource-based economy in terms of the GDP. So this is really the heart of what produces our GDP and the heart of the economy, but sits and lives alongside a very vibrant, dynamic tech and innovation community that Laetitia will speak to later on. But I think it's worth flagging this up first. At the heart of this, very large natural gas resources. You may have heard of the LNG Canada investment, which is the single biggest investment in Canadian history into an LNG plant in northern BC, using BC natural gas and resources. There are other projects being developed there too, potentially an LNG bunkering infrastructure in Vancouver. Alongside that, forestry is one of the great resources for the province. We export pulp, lumber, wood pellets, and developing a bioeconomy to not only Asia and the US, but to Europe as well. Mining, another key foundation. Particularly metallurgical coal, but also gold, molybdenum, I still have trouble saying that, and copper and other metals. agri-food and aquaculture, very big exporter, particularly of fruits, berries, and seafood, but fairly diverse there too. Also to Asia, US and European markets, and helping us process all that, a very large logistics infrastructure built heavily around the port of Vancouver, which is the third largest in North America, largest in Canada by quite a long way, but as well a vibrant port up north called Prince Rupert, and YVR, which are daily direct flights to Europe and a lot of flights to the US and to Asia. So as well as a rail network that connects into Midwest and Southern US. So very strong, all of which to say very strong resource economy. Key part that I think may be of interest for those on the line is that with that, combined with the tech and innovation Laetitia will come to, it's a very good testing and development ground for innovation in these resource economies. So whether it's geospatial data, virtual reality and alternative reality applied to mining, there's a lot of very interesting tech development that services the resource industries. Thanks. So next slide. Talent is often the top one that companies mention whenever they're looking at potential new markets and new jurisdictions. So at BC, a lot of jurisdictions will say this, we will. BC is very strong, both in terms of the domestic talent base that we produce through the universities, UBC, Simon Fraser, BCIT are among the most well-known, into a range of areas, but also through an immigration process that is run federally rather than provincially, which is easier to access than the US. Within that, there is a provincial nominee program. Each provinces have their own route into the market as well for those looking to set up. But the talent is there, suffice to say, and I put at the end highly multilingual. Being candid, I'm an example where French is probably one of the weaknesses, but you will find it. Whereas a lot of the languages are Asian as well. So multilingual, definitely a multicultural environment. And I think that really adds to the type of talent that we see there. Next slide. Thank you. I've touched on location. I am very keen on this map because the traditional map of the world makes BC look a long, long, long way from Europe. And I'm not saying it's close, but it's nearer to Europe than it is to Pacific Asia, which the map doesn't make it look like it is. So this shows that it really is at that intersection of Europe, the West Coast US in particular, and the Asian market. The other locational advantage, not so much location, but an agreement that I think enables market access in both directions. CETA, everyone on the line is probably aware of it, but this was agreed in 2017 and has removed the vast majority of tariffs on goods trade between Canada and Europe. So that's really a benefit. Canada also, I've mentioned there, a member of CUSMA, which is of course the new NAFTA, and the CPTPP, which is access to a lot of the Asian markets too. Thanks. Next slide. Aware that I need to leave some time for Laetitia. Quality of life we touched on. I vouched for it in my own anecdote, but it is very much as it looks. And various independent bodies who do the rankings of these things place Vancouver particularly high up in the list as the main city. There are a lot of other regions worth looking at. Vancouver obviously is the main hub, but whether it's Kelowna in the interior or Vancouver Island with the capital Victoria, or further up north, there's a great deal of variety. And so that quality of life extends throughout the province, although the dynamics vary depending on where you're going. Vancouver, obviously, very urban, dynamic and cosmopolitan environment. Thanks very much. Next slide. And within that, this is where I hand over to Laetitia to speak a little bit about what we do and a little bit more about the tech side specifically. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Rupert. Merci beaucoup pour cette opportunité. J'avais pensé je pourrais présenter en français, mais à vrai dire, je pense que je vais le faire en anglais parce que premièrement, les diapositives sont en anglais et aussi, vraiment, je pense pour la Colombie-Britannique, l'anglais est essentiel. C'est pas comme le Québec, par exemple, où en effet, on parle beaucoup français. Comme le disait Rupert, en Colombie-Britannique, c'est vraiment plutôt l'anglais et les langues asiatiques. Donc, si ça ne vous dérange pas, je vais vous présenter donc tout ça en anglais. Mais bien sûr, je suis disponible après. Si vous avez des questions, vous voulez parler plus en détail en français, il y a pas de problème. Donc, oui, donc so the technology sectors in BC. So this is I'm going to talk more generally about the tech sector, which is an ever-growing sector for BC. Just to give you an idea, we have over 10,000 tech companies that employ about 100,000 people. There's a further 50,000 tech jobs in non-tech companies. So it's a pretty sizable industry. It's the third fastest industrial sector for our economy. And we have some very significant companies, in particular in quantum computing, such as D-Wave and 1QBit, really world-renowned. D-Wave, for instance, has the first commercial quantum computer, and is now has partnerships in Germany, and so there's significant companies. And I guess the reason for that, and is basically the sort of business environment for technology. I mean, some of it, as Rupert said, coming from obviously the natural resources industries, but also we have obviously the proximity. So what we call the Cascadia Tech Corridor, which is basically links up, Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and Oregon, and obviously further west in the US, further south in the US, the Silicon Valley. So, very strategically located in terms, in order that, to take advantage of those, connections with the tech industry in the US. A lot of it also comes from the gaming industry, which was one of we're very strong in the gaming industry, and that also led to some strengths in the tech sector. The other, in addition to sort of the location and the Cascadia Tech Corridor, we have a very dynamic venture capital market as well. So that all, of course, helps. The VCs, the US VCs, but also our own tech sector, which, we have some big funds. The government, the BC Tech Fund is one that was started a few years ago, which is really helping companies. We have tax credits as well, small VC tax credits, which make it very, big advantage to invest in these industries. We have the Genome BC Industry Innovation Program, which provides debt investment. So all of that, of course, helps. We also have, and this is really, we've gone leaps and bounds since this federal program that was launched, again, a couple of years ago, the Supercluster program. So this is a federal program, but there are different superclusters located around the country, and Vancouver is host to basically the digital supercluster. This has really helped us grow. It's really helping us grow our companies. There's investment from the government, but then it's matched by big companies, and all of that to basically grow our tech industry in particular. So those all help. Now I look after actually the life sciences sectors. I can't not talk about the life sciences sector. So again, this is a sector that's growing rapidly in the province. Exports services are increasing fast to the Far East, to Europe. It draws from basically our world-class academic institutions, which Rupert mentioned, also our research centers. And, you know, the result is we have actually Canada's 2 largest biotech companies by market capital are Vancouver or BC companies. One of them I'll talk about in a minute, Stem Cell Technologies, which actually happens to have quite a big distribution, has offices in Grenoble and then we also have Canada's largest medical device design company based in Victoria. Sorry, someone came in. So yeah, so basically very strong also in the life sciences, and the leading products and services include oncology, genomics, neuroscience, regenerative medicine, which is what Stem Cell Technology does, HIV, AIDS, medical isotopes, and personalized medicine. So I've said quite a lot on this slide, but basically, if you have any questions on some of the other areas, you know, clean tech, digital media, I'll talk at the end just a little bit about the team and who you can get a hold of if you want more information on those particular areas. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here we thought we'd just put a few European companies that are located in BC. So obviously you recognize all of these, a lot again in the natural resources, you know, banking, consulting. The one I'll talk a little bit more about because it's sort of my area is Babylon. So that was a UK startup. This, just to give you an example of kind of what services we can offer. So they approached us a few years ago. They had been in touch with a potential partner in BC, and they needed our help. Basically, they were very keen to sort of set up somewhere in Canada and sell their services, which is sort of telemedicine, AI, you know, doctor consultancies, basically over the phone. And so we helped, you know, with connections, for instance, to the Ministry of Health. We helped with, you know, questions of, you know, procurement, reimbursement, recruiting employees, recruiting doctors for their services, you know, to enable their service, grant programs, and obviously, you know, connections in the life sciences sectors, additional potential partners, and all of that. So Babylon was one that we helped quite significantly. Next slide, please. Yeah, so then the other way, so BC companies that are located in Europe. So again, I'm sure you'll recognize some. Slack is pretty well known. Electronic Arts, that's sort of our gaming industry. That's the founder, you know, is from Vancouver. Lululemon, sports and yoga wear. And then again, I'll talk about sort of my sector, so Stem Cell Technologies. So Stem Cell Technologies is Canada's largest biotech company. They focus on regenerative medicine. They have so we've been working with them quite closely in Cambridge. They're part of quite a few European programs for grants, as you can imagine. They do a lot of research. So they have about 50 or 60 employees in Cambridge, sales and marketing, R&D. But then Grenoble is actually also a key distribution center for them in Europe. They have direct sales in about 17 countries, and 20% of the growth revenue is in Europe. So that's should sort of help you kind of see where, you know, what types of companies we have. Next slide, please. Right, so just, yeah, Rupert and I just really wanted to introduce you to the team. So obviously Rupert, you've met, myself, who looks after life sciences and sort of health products. We also have a colleague that looks after ICT and interactive and digital media, Rhoda. Graham, who's more the sort of natural resources, forestry, energy, clean technology. Our operations manager, who also covers some of agri-food, a colleague in Holland who covers agri-tech, marine and infrastructure, and a colleague in Germany who covers agri-food, agri-tech, and advanced manufacturing. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. You know, we're here basically to support European companies that are looking to set up a presence in BC. And yeah, we look forward to hopefully some more conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rupert and Laetitia. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll just have this session at the end of the webinar. So yes, and that's, I have a particular fondness for stem cell technology. As I said, this is my very first project I worked on when I started this job. So that's quite a long time ago, but it's been a very successful project as well. I'll pass the mic and the floor to Business France. I think it's, I don't know who's talking next. Fayssal, you are going to... Okay.
Yes, no worries.
So Alexandrine, if you could maybe share that, just make things easier if you prefer.
Yeah,
and,
perfect.
I'll just pass the floor. You can start either in French or in
No
English,
worries.
as you like.
Okay. So with Jonathan and Julien, who are with me today, we are going to do it in French because we've decided so. So sorry for Rupert or Laetitia, we're really sorry for that. But we will try to be very practical and we're going to give a lot of tips. I hope that the audience will enjoy it. Donc, bonjour à tous. Merci Véronique, merci Alexandrine pour cette opportunité. Donc, nous sommes présents aujourd'hui avec Julien Tougeron, directeur investissement et business development au sein de l'activité Invest chez Business France, et Jonathan Lauerstumm, qui est expert innovation et qui travaille pour Expertise France et qui est en charge notamment de sonder et de repérer l'ensemble des innovations ici au Canada et de faciliter les échanges entre la France et le Canada. Et en ce qui me concerne, je suis chef de pôle Tech et Services basé à Toronto. Donc, l'objectif de notre présentation, c'est que nous souhaitons vraiment que cet échange soit le plus conversationnel possible. Donc, on a mis une présentation, mais l'objectif de ce support est vraiment que ça puisse vous servir après cette présentation et là, profiter avec vous et de cet instant-là pour vraiment aller et vous donner quelques conseils vraiment très pratiques et très réalistiques. Donc, en ce qui concerne Business France, je vais faire de manière très succincte avec Julien, notamment pour présenter l'activité export et l'activité Invest de Business France. Donc, nous sommes un IPIC, un établissement public industriel commercial, et l'objectif pour nous, c'est de vraiment accompagner les entreprises à aller à l'international. Si tu pouvais passer à la slide 2, s'il te plaît, Alexandrine. Donc, l'objectif, voilà, on est une agence publique. Notre objectif, c'est de vraiment soutenir dans la durée l'accompagnement des startups, des PME, mais également des quelques grandes ETI à l'international. On est là pour promouvoir notamment l'excellence du savoir-faire français sur les marchés internationaux. Nous avons donc l'activité export qui s'occupe notamment, c'est les 3 premiers points, et où nous avons l'activité invest notamment pour attirer des investissements étrangers et créer des emplois, ouvrir des nouveaux sites et les accueillir notamment dans leur démarche de développement sur le marché national. Et on a également une dernière mission qui est vraiment de valoriser l'image économique de la France. Ça peut se faire à travers des marques comme Creative France, French Tech, French Fab, pour vraiment promouvoir ces entreprises et aller gagner des parts de marché à l'international. Troisième slide, pour qu'on aille un peu plus vite, parce que je sais qu'on est assez tight au niveau timing. Donc, notre mission, comme vous l'avez compris, on a 2 activités, la partie export et la partie invest. Donc, je ne vais pas plus rentrer dans le détail que ça. Donc, 4e slide, s'il te plaît. Donc, on va vous donner en quelques chiffres, notamment à la mission de Business France. Donc, 5e slide. Donc, voilà, je ne vais pas faire tous les chiffres, mais vous pouvez voir qu'on a accompagné pas mal de monde. Vous pouvez voir qu'on est vraiment une équipe qui est vraiment présente sur tous les continents à travers le monde. On a plus de 1500 collaborateurs. En comptant l'étranger et la France. On est présent sur plus de 65 sites à travers 55 pays. Et en ce qui concerne notamment l'Amérique du Nord, on est présent sur 7 bureaux, donc 2 au Canada et 5 aux États-Unis. Et on a à peu près 100 collaborateurs pour vraiment couvrir les secteurs allant de l'agrotech, industrie tech, clean tech, art de vivre, santé et la tech et services innovants. Donc, en ce qui concerne notamment l'objectif qui nous a été mandaté par le gouvernement, les missions qui nous ont été assignées, c'est de vraiment pour cette période-là que Business France puisse accroître, bien entendu, le nombre d'exportateurs et le volume d'exportation à travers le monde, de clarifier et simplifier le dispositif d'accompagnement, notamment avec la mise en place de la TFE, Team France Export, où les entreprises savent aujourd'hui qu'on a un guichet unique, ils peuvent aller voir la BPI, Business France, les régions, avoir accès aux subventions régionales, avoir accès notamment au CREUN, chèque Relance Export aujourd'hui qui a été mis en place spécialement pour la crise Covid. Mais également de faciliter les investissements étrangers. Et je laisserai Julien parler sur ce volet-là, mais on sait que voilà, Pascal Cani, à travers notamment les interviews qu'il fait, à travers notamment ses déplacements à l'étranger, sur des salons, sur des forums, met vraiment en avant l'ensemble des atouts que la France peut représenter afin d'avoir le plus d'investissements possible et faire de la France, bien entendu, la première destination des idées. Et le Brexit nous est quand même favorable sur ce point-là, donc on est très content. Et la France est vraiment passée, je pense, je laisserai Julien confirmer, mais la première destination pour les IDE cette année, je pense, en Europe.
Je te confirme.
Parfait, très bien, merci Julien. 7e slide, s'il te plaît. Donc voilà, en quelques chiffres, la partie export de Business France. Donc, on a accompagné en 2019, et c'était le cas également en 2020 à travers des formats digitaux, plus de 10 000 entreprises à l'étranger, notamment les accompagner dans leur démarche de projet à l'international, notamment en travaillant sur leur stratégie go-to-market, les aidant sur la partie stratégique, mais également opérationnelle, en organisant pas mal de rendez-vous. On a également cette activité VIE, qui est vraiment une activité très intéressante parce qu'on permet aux entreprises d'avoir accès à une ressource, à un bassin de talents de jeunes ingénieurs commerciaux, créateurs de websites, pour que ces entreprises-là puissent se servir de ce dispositif-là et soutenir bien entendu leurs projets à l'international à des prix très accessibles, comparé notamment à un expatrié qu'on mettrait pour ouvrir une filiale notamment en Colombie Britannique, par exemple, à Montréal, Toronto et même à New York. Donc, ce dispositif-là est vraiment très adopté et très adopté également par les entreprises. Et on a pas mal de grands groupes qui profitent et qui optent pour ce dispositif-là, mais on a de plus en plus de startups, de PME qui vont venir et qui vont se charger notamment de mettre en place ce dispositif-là afin de les aider parce que ça leur coûte vraiment moins cher que notamment de mettre quelqu'un ou de le faire déplacer depuis leur bureau depuis la France. La partie Invest maintenant, slide 8, je pense que… Voilà, parfait, je te laisse. Vas-y, s'il te plaît.
Ça marche. Je vais juste apporter une précision sur le VIE. Le VIE, c'est quand même une opportunité pour les entreprises françaises d'avoir des juniors plus pour les entreprises. Surtout, le financement est accompagné par l'État. Aujourd'hui, vous avez le chèque VIE qui vous permet en fait d'envoyer un jeune professionnel en Europe, en Amérique du Nord, un peu partout sur le continent, et avec des frais extrêmement minimes, sachant que ce n'est pas une rémunération, c'est une aide, et que la rémunération du VIE est considérée comme, et pas considérée comme un salaire, donc déductible des impôts et déductible de vos frais. Voilà. Ça, c'est l'ancien chef d'entreprise qui vous parle. Pour revenir à la partie Invest, nous avons accompagné, bon, je ne vais pas rentrer dans le détail du nombre des projets que nous avons accompagnés d'investissement à l'étranger. Je vais me focaliser sur le Canada. Cette année, le Canada est toujours la 5e destination et toujours la 5e destination des investisseurs en France. Nous, on accompagne un certain nombre d'entreprises. Laetitia en a cité. Donc, Outsuite a été accompagné par Business France en France, mais ils sont partis en Belgique. Mais Lululemon, par exemple, et son CEO sont présents en France et on les accompagne là-dessus. Electronic Arts aussi. On a eu pas mal de projets dans ce cadre-là. On en a accompagné 54 cette année sur tout le Canada. C'est des projets qui sont créateurs d'emplois. On travaille beaucoup avec Sharon, d'ailleurs, qui est basée en Californie, que je vois ici. Fais-nous coucou, Sharon, je plaisante. Mais voilà, qui vous permet en fait d'avancer sur des projets. La zone grenobloise pour les investisseurs, c'est une zone qui nous intéresse particulièrement, très pointue en termes de tech, notamment sur les antennes 5G aussi, et sur lesquelles nous, on a des projets qui avancent pas mal. Et ces projets-là sont accompagnés du Canada Est, c'est-à-dire Halifax, jusqu'à l'ouest, jusqu'en British Columbia, et pour lesquels en fait on a quand même un retour très positif. Ces opérations d'attractivité, je ne vais pas rentrer en détail par rapport à tout ça parce qu'on est en train de parler toujours des entrepreneurs français qui visent l'international. Donc je vais laisser la parole surtout à notre ami Jonathan qui va présenter le Canada au sens large. Et puis après, on reviendra sur la partie plutôt pain point des entrepreneurs français. Et là, on va reprendre chacun nos casquettes respectives et revenir aussi sur notre parcours qui va vous expliquer un peu pourquoi on a cette expérience-là et comment on peut vous donner quelques bons conseils ou surtout éviter les pièges. Voilà, je te laisse la parole, Jonathan.
Merci Julien. Bonjour à tous. Donc, pour ma part, je vais évoquer plutôt l'écosystème technologique du Canada. Alors, si on peut aller sur les slides un peu
sur le
plus
slide
loin.
11.
Alors après celle-là, la suivante, voilà, merci. Donc, en évoquant au niveau canadien d'abord, donc les principaux secteurs technologiques, donc sont l'intelligence artificielle, fintech, sciences de la vie, clean tech, cybersécurité, quantique. Et ensuite, sur la slide suivante, en détaillant et en déclinant un petit peu plus régionalement, donc ici, ce sont les principaux pôles d'innovation canadiens qui sont classés en fonction des levées de fonds. On aurait pu choisir un autre indicateur, mais ça donne une bonne image, où Vancouver et la Colombie Britannique est troisième, mais talonne aujourd'hui, sur les chiffres 2019 et encore plus 2020, le Québec. J'ai indiqué donc les principaux pôles sur lesquels la Colombie-Britannique se démarque, à savoir clean tech, quantique, tout ce qui est réalité virtuelle, réalité augmentée et blockchain. Sur ces thématiques-là, une implantation en Colombie-Britannique est vraiment à considérer. Et j'ajouterais peut-être également les biotechnologies qui vraiment se démarquent dernièrement, notamment du fait de la crise. Sur cette slide, j'ai également mis ensemble du coup Vancouver et le pôle Edmonton Calgary, puisque si vous considérez du coup un développement sur la Colombie-Britannique, votre terrain de jeu sera plutôt l'Ouest canadien en général. Et donc, ça peut faire sens de considérer Vancouver, même si vous êtes plutôt sur les technologies industrielles ou sur l'oil and gas, par exemple. Voilà, si on peut aller à la slide suivante. Donc ici, c'est à peu près la même chose, mais un peu plus visuel, en excluant donc, tout ce qui est deep tech. C'est pour ça que vous ne trouverez pas le coin, notamment la santé. Mais ça donne un bon aperçu en fait, des forces régionales de chaque province qui peuvent aussi vous aider pour vous à vous repérer et savoir quel territoire correspond peut-être le mieux à vos besoins et vos attentes. Donc, encore une fois, donc Vancouver, voilà, un gros potentiel, que ce soit en talent ou en entreprise, sur tout ce qui est art visuel et art VR, jeux vidéo. Il y a d'autres régions au Canada qui ont également qui peuvent également correspondre à ces besoins, mais dans la santé, notamment également de très belles entreprises comme Accélera qui a récemment fait une très belle IPO. Donc, c'est une région à considérer sur certaines thématiques. Et juste le dernier slide, s'il vous plaît. Donc, je voulais juste mentionner également rapidement l'initiative des superclusters ou supergrappes d'innovation, qui est une initiative du gouvernement fédéral qui a sélectionné 5 territoires pour 5 supergrappes, dont notamment Digital Supercluster qui est à Vancouver, et donc qui est le plus axé tout ce qui est bien sûr numérique, mais également informatique quantique, industrie forestière, santé. C'est un très bon moyen, on va dire, d'avoir un aperçu global de la province, de ses forces, d'entrer en contact avec beaucoup d'acteurs, que ce soit universitaires, technologiques, industriels. Donc, ces 5 supergrappes vous donnent vraiment un bon aperçu en fait, des forces de chaque province et des acteurs que vous pouvez retrouver, entre guillemets. Je vous encourage d'ailleurs à aller visiter le site du Digital Technology Supercluster qui vous donnera pas mal d'informations sur la province et d'autres, le contexte un petit peu industriel également de la province. Maintenant, je vais relaisser la parole à Fayssal et Julien sur les questions, les do's and don'ts pour faire du business.
Merci Jonathan. Comme vous avez compris, la présentation, celle-là, vous l'aurez en backup après, une fois que Véronique vous la verra tous, si vous en avez besoin. Il y a nos contacts également dessus. Elle complète ce que nous a dit Laetitia. On va surtout revenir, nous, sur notre passé d'entrepreneur. Moi, j'ai un passif d'être serial entrepreneur. J'avais une entreprise en France spécialisée dans la formation entrepreneuriale et entrepreneur dans le cadre de classement professionnel, avec des antennes en Belgique et à Londres. Donc l'international, ça nous connaît, mais surtout, j'ai vécu en British Columbia il y a quelques années de ça. Je suis diplômé de UBC, University of British Columbia. Je connais bien le secteur. J'ai travaillé dans le domaine du soccer pendant quelques années aussi. Donc, un petit passif d'entrepreneur avec les do et don'ts. Je vois qu'il y a Jean-Pierre Carré de Scaping qui est là aussi. Donc, c'est un entrepreneur que moi, j'ai suivi dans le cadre de mon autre vie avant Business France, qui était à la French Tech de Montréal, Bleu Blanc Tech, où on couvrait tout, de l'Est à l'Ouest aussi, même basé à Montréal. Et je suis aussi un des membres fondateurs de la French Tech à Aix-Marseille, donc je sais comment ça fonctionne. Je sais quelles sont vos difficultés. Et en fait, le but, c'était d'être dans un dialogue et ensemble. et essayer de trouver des solutions par rapport à tout ça. Alors, je reviens à ce que disait Laetitia, tout à fait d'accord. L'anglais, indispensable, même si je vous parle en français là maintenant, l'anglais est indispensable en British Columbia. Si vous avez des notions de chinois, de mandarin ou cantonais, il ne faut pas hésiter non plus. C'est quand même, il y a 70%, dis-moi si je dis des bêtises, mais il me semble que c'est 70% de la population qui est d'origine asiatique. Et surtout, le lien se fait beaucoup avec l'Ouest américain, bien sûr, mais aussi et surtout l'Asie. Bien sûr, on reparlait des pôles d'activité phares. Donc oui, on a tout ce qui est industrie culturelle créative, tout ce qui est technologie quantique, le divertissement, bien sûr, les clean tech, le forestier. Ça, ce sont des points qui sont intéressants. Mais quand on est dans un domaine de développement à l'international, il faut toujours s'orienter vers des choses que l'on connaît, savoir comment ça fonctionne, se rapprocher des bonnes personnes. Le service économique Invest in British Columbia, c'est un axe d'accès, bien sûr. Vous avez aussi les services, des services économiques régionaux des consulats, de l'ambassade que représente Jonathan. Vous avez Business France qui est là pour vous aussi, pour vous aider dans votre démarche. Vous avez les French Tech aussi, pensez-y. Les French Fab pour ceux qui sont sur la partie industrielle. Et vous avez toutes les communautés françaises de l'étranger. Vous avez l'Union française à Vancouver, vous l'avez aussi à Victoria d'ailleurs et à Kelowna. Voilà, il faut aussi s'orienter vers les écosystèmes français qui peuvent être des relais pour vous. Et puis, quand vous arrivez sur un marché, et particulièrement un marché nord-américain et particulièrement canadien, il vous faut ce qu'on appelle des références. Alors, les références françaises ne servent, je suis désolé de vous dire ça, mais ne servent à rien. Orange, par exemple, France Télécom, ils ne le connaissent pas. Donc, il faut avoir une logique qui soit aussi adaptée aux clients que vous allez cibler. Un bel média, par exemple, oui, ou un show cable qui est basé à NBC. Ça, c'est quelque chose qu'il va falloir plutôt aller chercher si vous êtes dans les télécommunications. Voilà, un Outsuite, un Lululemon, ou on ne peut pas les citer. Ça, c'est des bons acteurs aussi avec lesquels vous pouvez partager. Et surtout, basez-vous et appuyez-vous sur votre réseau. Si ce n'est pas un réseau que vous avez, basez-vous sur un réseau que l'on peut vous mettre à disposition, comme celui de l'ambassade, du SER, de Business France, d'Invest in BC, etc. Clairement, les agences de développement économique local avec lesquelles nous travaillons, qui sont d'excellents relais pour vous mettre en relation avec d'autres entrepreneurs aussi, et puis potentiellement des clients potentiels. Et ça, je te laisse reprendre un peu la parole.
Yes, no worries. Merci encore, Julien. Et en effet, comme l'a très bien souligné Julien, nous, Business France, en fait, on est habitué à travailler avec des startups, des TPE, des PME, notamment pour la partie export. Donc, on connaît vraiment bien vos problématiques et qu'est-ce qu'il faut que vous mettiez en œuvre afin d'être successful et réussir sur le marché canadien. Comme on a dit, on est plus de 30-35 personnes sur le marché canadien à vraiment couvrir l'ensemble du territoire canadien et à aider les entreprises et faciliter la mise en relation. On travaille sur la partie stratégique, notamment sur tout ce qui est go-to-market, proposition de valeur, analyse concurrentielle, différenciation, parce que comme vous le savez, c'est très bien d'avoir des références, comme l'a très bien souligné Julien, mais si jamais vous n'avez pas de référence canadienne, cela ne sert strictement à rien en fait de venir de fanfaronner et dire « Ok, moi j'ai le plus gros marchand d'e-commerce en France alors que personne ne connaît ici au Canada. » Donc c'est pour ça que les premières étapes, nous on sera toujours là pour vous aider. Et donc avant même de travailler sur la partie opérationnelle, ce qui est vraiment important, c'est vraiment la partie strat, c'est-à-dire mise à jour de votre site internet, les brochures, les supports marketing, tout ça doit être en anglais. Donc, vous ne pouvez pas venir sur le marché canadien juste en vous basant sur votre site en français qui ne servira strictement à rien. Même pour partir à Montréal, dans la province du Québec, il vous faut les deux versions. Donc, imaginez-vous pour la Colombie Britannique. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'on a pas mal d'entreprises françaises qui nous disent, voilà, je connais l'ensemble des us et des coutumes, je connais les standards US, canadiens, et je sais que je vais réussir. Mais in fine, quand on discute avec elles, on constate que ces derniers n'ont vraiment pas les standards, ne connaissent vraiment pas la culture US ou la culture canadienne pour le coup, et qui ne sont même pas prêts pour parler avec des entreprises canadiennes parce que ils n'arrivent pas notamment à temps pour la plupart. Pardon, mais la ponctualité pour les Français, c'est pas notre plus grande qualité. Donc c'est pour ça que ça c'est très intéressant. Ils viennent sans se préparer, notamment quand ils vont rencontrer les entreprises françaises. On a des très belles startups qui ont levé 20-30 millions d'euros en France qui sont intéressées par le marché canadien, mais quand ils viennent pendant le premier entretien avec un grand compte canadien, ils ratent l'entretien. Pourquoi? Parce qu'ils ne sont pas préparés, ils ne connaissent pas leur interlocuteur, ils ne respectent pas le b.a.-ba en quelque sorte de comment mener un business meeting au Canada. Donc ça, c'est des choses sur lesquelles nous, on peut vous aider, notamment sur le pitch delivery, sur comment vous différenciez avec des KPIs, mais également avec des éléments qui vous différencient par rapport à la concurrence. il ne faut pas que vous pensiez que vous avez un élément disruptif et que vous allez tout prendre sur le passage. Ce n'est pas vrai. Il y a déjà des concurrents sur place, il y a des Allemands, il y a des Espagnols, il y a des Italiens, il y a des Américains, notamment en Colombie Britannique, qui viennent, ils cherchent directement à prendre des parts de marché. Donc, afin de vous différencier, afin d'avoir tous ces éléments-là en votre faveur, il faut travailler, notamment avec la TFO en France, avec les agences locales avec qui on travaille. On a trop de collaborations, que ce soit à Montréal, Toronto, en Colombie-Britannique. Donc, nous, Business France, on est vraiment là pour ça. Donc, n'hésitez pas si vous avez la moindre question. Nous, on sera ravis de pouvoir vous accompagner. On accompagne à peu près entre 400 et 500 entreprises, notamment start-up à 90% sur le territoire nord-américain à travers des salons collectifs, à travers des programmes d'accélération comme Impact USA, Creative Lab, UB Mobility dans différents verticaux, mais également à travers des missions individuelles sur mesure. Ça peut être des études de marché, des études d'implantation, ça peut être n'importe quoi, tant que ça répond à votre besoin spécifique. Donc, j'espère que vous serez beaucoup plus bavard, notamment quand vous allez nous envoyer des emails, à poser vos questions, parce que là, je ne vois pas beaucoup de choses dans la conversation chat. Je pense qu'il faut profiter notamment de la présence de Laetitia, Rupert, Jonathan, Julien et moi éventuellement, pour qu'on puisse vous donner l'ensemble de ces tips pour que vous puissiez être le plus successful possible et éviter les erreurs, notamment que vos prédécesseurs notamment ont commis avant d'attaquer le marché, notamment en Colombie-Britannique. Ça, c'est important.
Sur cette partie-là, je vais rajouter juste un point, excuse-moi Véronique, c'est oui, c'est qui est extrêmement important, ça coûte cher un développement international, c'est comme un mauvais recrutement, ça vous poursuit pendant des années. Donc il faut être très précis. Il y a une chose qui est importante aussi, c'est que vous avez droit à des aides régionales, mais vous avez aussi des aides de l'État, notamment le chèque export, qui vous permet aussi de développer ça. Servez-vous-en. Vous y avez droit. Hein, on dit souvent j'y ai droit. Ben oui, là, vous y avez droit. Donc, n'hésitez pas à l'utiliser parce que c'est aussi un moyen de développement international. Voilà. On pourra discuter ça après. Merci, Veronique.
Je ne sais pas si Jonathan voulait encore intervenir, mais on va passer la parole à Laura. Et ensuite, on aura aussi le temps d'échanger, d'avoir éventuellement des témoignages, parce que je vois là qu'effectivement, je crois que c'est Jean-Pierre de Sleeping qui est intervenu. On va donc laisser la parole. I'm sorry, I was supposed to speak in English. I'm sorry.
No.
Just mixing the two languages, but that's okay. We just speak wrongly every time. Anyway, so Laura is our special partner for this Faise program, and she's going to introduce you to empowered startups and how her program can support also the entrepreneurs internationally. So Laura, the floor is yours.
Super, merci beaucoup Véronique. Alexandrine, est-ce que tu préfères que moi? C'est toi qui partages ou c'est moi? Ah oui, c'est parfait. C'est parfait. Ben, je vais continuer. Bonjour à tout le monde et je vais continuer avec le thème général de sauter un peu côté bilingue. Alors, je commencerai un peu en français. Je vais vous demander de me pardonner pour mon accent. C'est un peu entre les deux. Je suis née à Montréal, mais ça fait 15 ans que je suis à Colombie-Britannique, mais je voyageais en France. Alors, j'ai un accent, je crois, un peu mi-atlantique à ce point-ci. Donc, je suis la directrice générale de les opérations en Europe de Empowered Startups. Alors, j'aimerais bien commencer avec une petite présentation, un portrait de Empowered. Nous sommes un partenaire de Faise et nous sommes nous nous sentons assez privilégiés de faire partie de ce réseau et avec ces ambitions de connecter le monde, surtout avec ce qu'on vit présentement. Alexandrine, si on pourrait sauter à la prochaine slide. Oui, merci. Donc, nous avons notre siège social, c'est à Vancouver, Colombie-Britannique, mais ça dit tout le monde, notre équipe qui travaille ici, nous travaillons à distance. Moi, je suis à 2 heures de Vancouver présentement. Ma famille, nous autres, on vit à Whistler, donc ça se ressemble un peu à Chamonix. Donc, c'est it's a ski resort up here. We have beautiful snow, midwinter snow. It's very, very nice. Nous avons aussi de la programmation en France, à Grenoble. encore, pour le moment, c'est presque entièrement virtuel. Nous avons la programmation au Portugal, je m'en occupe de cette programmation aussi. Et nous avons en Asie, au Vietnam et un peu à Hong Kong aussi. Donc, nous avons un peu partout. Nous visons sur les startups à l'étage début, so idea stage. Et nous travaillons avec, pour la plupart, ce sont des fondateurs assez expérimentés qui parviennent de l'étranger et vont se localiser en France ou au Canada ou au Portugal. Nous avons aussi d'autres programmations. Donc, nous travaillons avec les communautés autochtones au Colombie Britannique, les First Nations. Nous avons une programmation EduTech pour des jeunes en entrepreneuriat et nous lançons nos propres projets, nous autres, parce qu'on s'intéresse et we come across enough interesting stuff that we tend to get involved in it and launch our own businesses because it's fun. Nous avons à présent dans notre portfolio plus de 300 startups. Donc, nous sommes we're very comfortable with working with people from abroad and with launching early stage. Et comme fait référence à Rupert et le Canada a un programme d'immigration et nous sommes certifiés sur ce programme fédéral. Les provinces aussi ont des programmes un peu accélérés si vous désirez lancer ou vous relocaliser dans cette province-là. Et nous venons d'être certifiés par la province d'Alberta. Donc, nous avons maintenant une patte dans deux provinces de l'Ouest et comme a remarqué Jonathan, c'est les deux provinces où on voit beaucoup de croissance et it's very exciting times. Nous sommes aussi très bien, nous avons des liens avec le Digital Supercluster qui ont fait référence, donc Invest in BC et Business France. Bien, le cofondateur du Digital Supercluster, Bill Tam, est un des juristes pour le programme Faise. Donc, ouais, si we're very well positioned to introduce you to a variety of different groups that could be useful to you. Et de là, lançons dans le programme de Faise en particulier, donc c'est assez de nous autres. Et le programme, Faise in BC, comment est-ce que le portrait de ça? Alors, Alexandrine, si on pourrait aller à la prochaine. Merci. So this time I think I will switch to English because most of the program in BC will be in English. En français, ça dit. Je peux me débrouiller en français et donc, si vous avez besoin des appuis en français, certainement, je suis disponible à faire ça en français. Mais comme, as everybody has indicated, BC is primarily English. There is a French community here that is strong, but most business is done in English. So the Faise program, there will be 3 parts to it. And the beginning part will start with streaming master classes. And by that, I mean we will have classes via Zoom. And they will be much broader and they will cover, we'll get into what it is that they will cover, but they will cover the broad subjects that would be of interest to those who are looking at exploring launching in BC in whatever form. So you may be thinking of launching in BC in terms of attacking new markets. There may be customer bases. This is a great place from which to see customers in the US, partly because of proximity and literally because we are so close to Seattle. And as a result, we have great ties with Seattle and with the US and by extension down to California. So we will cover these broad classes that will be of interest, whether you're looking at new customers, whether you're looking at new partners, or whether you're looking at actually relocating yourself perhaps at some point in the future. The next aspect of the program will be ongoing online support. This will be a platform that has become available to all Faise participants and will be available to you if you're selected for Faise, where you can collaborate with people from Business France, with people from Invest BC, and from with other partners as we prepare for when it is that eventually you'll be able to come and visit, and that will culminate in the in-person boot camp. So all of that preparation will then turn into the days when you get to come and visit. We get to, we may not be at shaking hands at those days, but where we can at least see each other face to face. Alexandrine, see if we could go to the next slide and we'll get a little bit into what the master classes will talk about. So the broad topics are things of interest to anybody who's looking at BC. The fiscal incentives, which we've made reference to. There are tax programs, there are out and out like cash refund tax credits, but in addition, there's actual cash forward programs, especially for startups that are focused on R&D. There, of course, are legal considerations depending on how it is that you want to be in BC, either as a BC company, which launching as a BC company, it's different in Canada than it is in Europe. Launching a company here is administratively quite easy. But clearly there's considerations to factor in of how it is that that would relate to your French company. Working and hiring in BC, those are, again, these are things that you would want to consider of how it is you want to express yourself here in BC. And of course, the living aspect, the school systems, for those who have children, the work-play balance. I can be a testament to the fact that we were all there were a number of us who were working virtually pre-pandemic, and this has just simply normalized something that has been a big part of BC life for some time now. Merci, Alexandrine. So I don't know if we have time today to jump into it, but we have created Empowered Startups. We use for ourselves a platform that has startup tutorials on how best to tackle how to tackle new projects using lean methodology. When you're launching in the international, even if you have an existing company, in many ways it's like launching a new company, because there will be assumptions that you have of how things work that will need to be tested. And we find that lean methodology is very useful in focusing your testing so you can validate those assumptions and focus your efforts, time, and money on aspects that really will make a difference. So we have, as I say, a platform. All 300 plus of our startups are on it. We have UBC is on it, McGill University is on it. We have a number of other of our partners who are on it too, who use it because it's useful for collaborating, and it's useful as a great, as I say, like a digital textbook to get you up to speed and using Lean Startup quickly. On the Faise instance of this platform, we also have the references and resources that have been built up as part of the Faise program, so they're available to you. So this will be after we've had the master classes. The platform will be available as you start planning what coming to BC or what you will want to look at for when you get to BC, and which will allow you to then focus your time in BC on really most bang for buck, because you will probably only be here for, let's say, a week or two, and that will allow us to make the most of that time with key meetings, because you will have done enough prep work beforehand. Alors, Alexandrine, si on peut, oui, merci. So then the in-person bootcamp, and I'm not putting a date on this because I don't want to be misleading. so I would love it if you would come in early spring. It's probably, who knows, it may be the fall. At some point we have BC's startup ecosystem is dynamic and it's thriving. And it's very interesting, as Rupert made reference to the fact that we have a resource-based economy. We do, and that's the backbone of our GDP. But the energy, of where there's innovation that's coming that leans on the resource aspect of it, but really where the legislation, particularly in BC in Vancouver is really driving towards the digital side of things. So we have the the conferences that take place and the startup ecosystem in that to come and be part of that. We would be delighted to welcome you into that group. So in that in-person boot camp, we would be meeting people that you would have been preparing to meet via online. We'll be validating what it is that the online planning, and of course a tour of the Vancouver area. And I would be pleased for those who are interested to come up to the mountains and take a look at the beauty that we have a little bit north of Vancouver. We call it the sea to sky. So you go from the ocean all the way up to the mountains where you feel like as though you can touch the sky. In many ways, it's like Grenoble, that we have a little bit of everything, and we're blessed in that way. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm gonna turn this back over to Veronique, so we can move on to what our next steps are with the Faise call for interest.
Thank you, Laura. And I think basically with all these speakers, we really have a better idea. And as you said, yeah, it looks like everything is available from sea to the mountains. I normally don't have the sea yet, I have to say. I'm sorry about this. I wanted to also point out that basically also your platform will be available for the winners of the startups that have been selected in our program. So which means they will be able to be supported through the platform to access to all the resources and tools, and so that's really an advantage in this. And as I said also in the chat, there will be a call for interest, both for Vancouver and for Taiwan. And then we will select the companies depending on the project. And the winners will be able to benefit from all this program. But of course, if there are too many candidates, then that's not a problem. We will not also basically we will not eject or reject candidacy depending on the numbers, but it's just that some the winners will have probably a privileged access to some of the support program. Without further ado, I'd just like also to open the floor for questions. I see from the audience there are lots of more like probably organizations and support organizations for prospective startups than startups themselves. But I have questions for you guys. Just wondering, is there like kind of a French startup community in British Columbia? I mean, would a French startup be able to relate to people like him or her and learn from which mistakes have been made or from which successes have been experienced? Maybe we can actually have Jean-Pierre Courrier from Scaping share his experience in Montreal, and maybe he has some specific questions about the Western Canada aspect.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. Hi, Julien. Hi, Fayssal. We already met in Montreal and in Toronto. So Scaping is making webcam for ski resorts, for example, Whistler, but we are not working with Whistler. We are working with Banff Gondola, for example. We're in Mine Lake too. We are in a Bromont ski resort. And we have like 200 cameras in Europe. So you can see behind me some example of the pictures we have with our brilliant 360 cameras. We opened an office in a subsidiary in Montreal last year in 2019. So 2 years ago, just before COVID. We started with the ski resort, and we were in a nice way to progress last year, and you know the story. So we are very optimistic on the Canada market, because we think that the inner market is big compared to France, where the tourism is depending on outbound tourism. I speak a lot with Quebec people, and they say, "Oh, the tourism is good. Ontario coming to us." So we are ready to start again with the Quebec, and we are looking at the BC and Alberta. But we are already working with Alberta. I think you maybe know the Pursuit Group. It's a big touristic operator in Alberta, so we are working with them. And we are planning to launch a new product probably next year now. And this actually we do B2B, and we are looking for B2C. And I'm clearly looking at Vancouver to start something there. So my first question is it possible for French startup with already a subsidiary in Montreal to participate in this program? Okay. Thank you, Laura.
Absolument, oui.
I think, yeah. Anyway, we just examine each project. So basically, we'll see if it's just a question of making sense in this particular region. And if there's anybody who wants to answer the questions from either Trade and Invest BC or Laura or the Business France, there's another question also in the chat saying, is there a cluster of which is about kind of related to the one I was asking, is there a cluster of entrepreneurs, corporate managers in BC, prospective startups where they can leverage on to validate their ideas before taking the step to actually land in BC?
Mm-hmm. So there is, if you're, sorry, go ahead, Rupert, please go ahead.
No, you go, and then I'll add in.
My question was going to be, are you looking for a group that is like a francophone or a group from France? Because there is, they call themselves la table ronde exécutive, je crois. And it is a group of senior executives and entrepreneurs in the Vancouver area who are from France. And that is exactly a group that you could leverage. Broadly in BC, are there groups of corporate managers under each sector? Yes, absolutely. But I'll turn it over to Rupert to talk about that in general.
Thank you. I think you've answered the key point, which is the first answer is yes, in terms of accessing a business community that is French that you can work with. The two additional points I had in mind, one of which is we do see quite a few businesses who will choose to start in Quebec, get used to a Francophone province, and then grow out into BC. We're still here to support that. That's still good news as far as we're concerned. That said, we also see a lot of businesses coming from France and elsewhere in Europe direct into BC because that might be the right decision for them. For those where that's the case, there are, in addition to the ecosystems we talk about by sector, there are a number of smaller accelerators that you can look at potentially joining to, as you say, test the ideas. I would need to look at whether you need to be incorporated in Canada to do that. But it is a way of incorporating is very straightforward, genuinely. So you can do that and then potentially look at an accelerator, test out your idea, see how it goes, and then build out from there. And my last thought, which is specific to the skiing, is I am a terrible skier. BC is remarkably good for skiing, whether it's the North Shore, Whistler, interior, and some peaks. The market's huge. It's domestic, it's American, and it's international. There we go. I'll stop there.
Does anybody from Business Force have anything to add to this, or no? I had another question too concerning the oh, sorry, you wanted to talk, Julien?
No, it's okay. Just
okay. I had another specific question about the how would it be also would there be opportunities for a French startup to actually raise funds in Canada, or more specifically in Western Canada? Would it be a good idea, for example, to go there and look for raising money?
I guess I can answer that. It definitely helps to be incorporated there because, as you can imagine, investors, can tap into quite a few tax credits. So if the company's incorporated, then yeah, they are obviously more interested. But it all depends on kind of the interest in what you're doing and yeah, what you have to offer. But yeah, I would say definitely think of incorporating, which is quite straightforward. I mean, if you're serious about that, that market, it just kind of is, yeah, a no-brainer, and it allows you to tap into lots of incentives, including, the VC community. But
Yeah,
even
for sure.
ahead of this, sorry, just one more thing. I mean, there are a lot of events that take place. I mean, for instance, in my sector, we have an association, Life Sciences BC, holding events, on a regular basis, organizing pitch events. I was actually quite involved in the EIT Health program last year, where we had about 5 or 6 companies that went to Vancouver, 3 of which were French companies, 3 French startups in the more medtech kind of area, AI. We were actually part of an event that was taking place in Vancouver, the Invest in BC. They were invited to pitch. They didn't actually get, it was very, very competitive. So they didn't get the opportunity to actually pitch on the day. But, actually in some ways these days with virtual events, I would encourage companies to take part in any of these events and pitch events. And I can share the details of Life Sciences BC. They're the main life sciences organization, and there's an equivalence, and there's BC Tech for tech more generally. Just keep up to date with kind of what they're organizing and take part whenever you can. But incorporation will help.
Okay, thanks. That's exactly what I was asking you. And of course,
if I can add something, the company have to get a subsidiary in the province. They want to set up down, but the BC gonna invest only in the headquarters in France, not in subsidiary.
I'm sorry. What do you mean that even if the
even if they got a subsidiary in the province, Quebec or British Columbia or something like this, they have the BC is gonna invest only in the headquarters in France, not in the subsidiary. This is a real point.
But having a subsidiary would then
they will help you to
gain the interest.
Yeah. To be related to those VC and to be related to all the heads or something like the funds and the provincial funds, something like this. But if you want a VC in your company, you have to have a subsidiary in the province, but the VC gonna invest only in the headquarters.
Right. Okay. Okay. And you have some examples, for example, or?
Yeah. One of the company from the French tech in south of France. The name I can give you the name, but the company based on the ESG software, based in France, located in Montreal, but the VC from based in London, but the main quarter is in Vancouver, in Montreal. Decide to invest only in the headquarters, based in France, in south of France.
And if I may also add one little thing is that nowadays VCs, either they're in the US or in Canada, they're not really looking for you guys to establish your companies in their countries. They're very much interested in order to invest your HQs in France. For example, we have organized something that we call Venture Days last year, where we had 8 VCs with us. We had Bessemer, Frontrunners, from a lot of big VCs from these, but we also had Omers Ventures from Toronto. They did meet 8 companies, and their condition was not to have an establishment here in Canada. So I think that there's a lot more opportunities for French companies who are disruptive, who have a very good solutions and are interested. But what we really advise these French companies is to rather, raise funds in France, have references, then come to Canada, because it's very difficult for a VC, either if you're if you have a shop here in the BC, to really be interested, because you didn't prove anything yet. You just have a subsidiary or a branch or whatsoever. But if you're not really innovative, disruptive, and all this stuff, a VC will not be interested, and that's normal, I think. But we have a lot of VCs, I mean, that are really much interested now by the European market and especially by the French market. So I think French companies in Grenoble are, I think, very lucky nowadays because we have more and more interest from our counterparts, VC counterparts from Canada and the US. So that's great. And I had a question just to maybe go about the chèque de relance export. You can have more information. Vous pouvez avoir beaucoup plus d'informations à ce sujet-là en vous rapprochant des agences, notamment régionales. C'est parce que vous avez chacun, normalement, vous êtes suivi par un chargé d'affaires international ou chargé au conseiller à l'international. Et c'est ces personnes-là qui vous donneront énormément d'éléments. Mais si vous le souhaitez, si jamais vous n'avez pas réponse à votre question, là, Amandine vient de vous envoyer un lien où vous pouvez avoir l'ensemble des informations là. Mais c'est vous qui êtes à la base, c'est vous qui initiez la demande. Et si vous êtes éligible, vous pouvez avoir un remboursement à hauteur de 2 000 €, voire 1 500 ou 5 000 € en fonction de la prestation que vous avez choisie.
Thank you. Yes, we will just distribute all these informations. We'll just record. So the webinar is recorded, and we record also all the chat as well. And so we'll be able to send all the information to the participants or to people you might know who would be interested. I don't know if are there any other questions here. I have another one that I see. Laurie,
I just also wanted to mention the link between the clean tech sectors in Grenoble and in BC. There's the International Clean Tech Network to which the core clean tech cluster belongs, as well as Tenerife. So there's possible links already made between the two regions in that sector.
Thank you, Sharon. So yes, there's also somebody said that another question saying, do you have some programs to get a co-founder or an advisor in the field of AI in Canada?
I can maybe answer. I will just go I don't know much about BC, but I know that we have a very good cluster who is based in Toronto, Creative Destruction Lab. They're really, really good. And you have already some French companies who have been enrolled in that program, CDL, they name it CDL, and they're really good and they're very talented. I mean, they have a lot of companies who are in the AI and machine learning program, but I will maybe let Jonathan maybe complete this, my sayings, but I think, yeah, CDL is not bad.
The CDL is also based in Paris, can have it something.
Yeah, and there is a stream in British Columbia as well, so so the connection is it's perfect. And yeah, CDL is indeed probably one of the best accelerator for deep tech AI machine learning. However, you won't find a co-founder through this program. This is not the main goal of this program. So this is a classic accelerator where you go there to build your network, to raise funds or other services, but you won't find your co-founder there. I don't have any insight about the co-funding programs in British Columbia. At that point, I don't know any co-funding.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to come in. Laetitia, do add anything if you want to. I agree with the point about CDL. There's a Vancouver office too, as you mentioned, which is great. So then you get all the connections there. The second part is we can, in terms of advisors and potential partners with which to work, once you're specific about what your offer is and what type of partner you're looking for or advisor, then we can consider who we know who might be useful and see if they're interested in an introduction. That's more on an expertise level than a co-funding level if we're talking about funding.
Yeah, I'll add, there's rivalries between cities, so I think that there's no question that Toronto is world class in many respects, and in AI certainly. Vancouver will argue that for practical AI, we do really, really well. And so there may be a lot of excellent research that's being done in Toronto and certainly in Montreal as well. And Vancouver's putting a lot of it to use. And certainly in the pandemic, it's been incredible what has been accomplished in such a short period of time. We have connections within the AI Association in BC, and the good news, bad news is like there's pros and cons about the fact that Vancouver is a small city. The pro is that it's a tight community, and so introductions can certainly be made. But as you say, Rupert, the key would be to know what exactly it is you're looking for, so that we can make a good match for you.
Well, thanks. We have learned that. I have the last question, which is the killer question, which is, when will we be allowed to come back to Canada? Now, I wish we knew. I guess everyone will just make sure that just you'll be as much prepared as possible, basically, and that's the idea of this online digital program as well. We found out there's a lot we can do actually online, but of course, it's just nothing that will replace the actual experience of coming over there. But the good news is you can see from the array of people who have participated in this webinar, you will have plenty of contacts and persons who will help you every step. From the incubation to just getting the right contacts at the right time, and basically supporting throughout your journey. So I think we'll have to conclude our webinar today. But as I said, we have recorded the webinar. We have the information on the chat as well. We'll just share as well also the emails from the participants. And we'll just also have a follow-up with a call for interest. And don't hesitate, because I've seen that we have quite a few of attendees who are actually organizations that support the internationalization of startups as well. So please just relay the information and just let us know if you have any companies, any startups who would be interested into participating into this program. So thank you everyone from the locals in Grenoble-Alpes, from the French Tech, Emily, Alexandrine, Claire, and I probably am missing a lot of people, to the people who are located also overseas, like Laura, Rupert, Jonathan, Laetitia, and then also from the team from the Business France and the Team France Export, locally also Amandine Bastien will be also the person to reach out to if you're a French a startup from the French Alps. I'm probably forgetting quite a few people. Sharon, my colleague Sharon, also in the US, is a key partner as well in this program. We hope that you'll be able to participate. And of course, everyone is just hoping that we will be able to meet over there. Everyone wants to go there, actually. So thanks, everyone. I don't know if anyone has anything to add, but we have to conclude in a few seconds.
Have a great day. Thanks a lot, Veronique. Thanks a lot, Alexandrine. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Veronique.
Thanks, everyone.
Please, this is just want to maybe, Alexandrine, if you can maybe to give a few words, because Alexandrine is the person who's really been running a lot of things in this program, doing the back office, just running the slides, preparing everything and making sure that everything is running on time and having all the information. So Alexandrine, please show yourself and give a few words.
Hi, it's me.
And if you have any questions and if you want to follow up, and also please reach out to Alexandrine as well.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day, Olga.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.
Thanks
and a
very
great
much.
day.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.